Hello, everyone. Welcome to Made to Dream. I'm your host, Maya Chanel, and here we share stories from women around the world to inspire, encourage, and empower women and young girls to dream without limitations. Today, I have the ultimate pleasure of speaking with Miss Tami Jaffe, and she is a breakthrough growth expert. So I'm excited to, dive deep and get to know more about her, how she started this business, this career for herself, and how she's continuing to grow herself as well as her client base. So, hi, Tammy, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, Maya. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, sharing your story, and inspiring others as well. So, I want to give you the opportunity to allow the audience to know a little bit more about you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like Maya said, I'm a breakout growth expert. And what that means is I inspire those who have been working for someone else in corporate or in another job and want to break free from the shackles of having to work for someone else and get out there and start their own business and excel at their own business and figure out what that is. And so I help my clients go from employee to entrepreneur without all the headaches so that they can
Hmm.
replace their income and exceed it.
No, so most definitely, I think that's important because having that transition and knowing exactly what to do in the different little steps and also the mindset change. I mean, it's a
Yes.
huge change just because you go from someone telling you what to do, you have a blueprint for what you need to do, and then it's all completely new and you have no guidance whatsoever. So I think that's important. Let us know a little bit more about how you got started and how you found this pathway on your career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent many years in corporate. I started off, I call myself a recovering CPA. I started off on the accounting path and made some career transitions along the way and ended my corporate career as the head of technology for the third largest real estate company in the world. And
Awesome.
when people are looking from the outside, they're like, well, you had everything you wanted, you got the
Mhm.
ideal job. But the higher up I got, the more I realized that it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to help more people. And I
Mhm.
had always called myself a mentor manager. And I
Mhm.
was always looking for ways to help people improve and figure out what their next step
Mhm.
was. And I just realized that, the politics and things that happen within corporate were not what I wanted for the rest of my
Mhm.
life.
Mhm.
I had had some things happen to me and some stories there that I won't go all into today, but we've all been there. We've all had those sticky situations, and we're like, okay, what
Mhm.
do we do next? Where do we go from here? And it was
Mhm.
at that point that I started working with my own coach, and I started working with an energy healer because I was having some physical issues. I was having
Mhm.
gallbladder issues and some other things going on and some pains. And
All of
I
the
was trying to
stress
figure out where that was
from being
coming from.
unhappy.
Yep, the stress, the frustration.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that every part of our body gives us a sign of something that's going on.
Mhm.
And it was through that work that I realized that, one, I loved the energy work. And so I went and got my own energy training and started just doing that with my family and things and
Mhm.
learning how to do that. But I also realized that I was meant to be a coach. And I started off helping people with their career transitions. And I still do some of that work and I still do some leadership work. But as I got out there and started doing this, people started coming to me and saying, how did you go from being a VP to starting your own business
Mhm.
and, being successful at that? And how did you make that transition? And myself, as long as many people, like I made mistakes along the way. And I
Mhm.
realized that now I know those things to avoid. I
Mhm.
know those bright, shiny objects that we all chase after when we become an entrepreneur.
Yes.
It's like as soon as you hang up that shingle, it's like you get targeted by like everybody in the world, and you're just like, oh, that sounds good, and this sounds good, and that sounds good. But there's a time and a place to do each thing in your business,
Mhm.
and knowing like what to do in each phase of your business and what to do when you're first starting out and how to grow that from there is so important because it can save you so much time and money. And that's what I
Mhm.
focus on with my clients is how to grow their business, how to make that transition, how to get through those mindset shifts, because
Yes.
there's so many of them, like you said.
No, most definitely. It's definitely a lot of growing pains, I would say, within an entrepreneurial journey, just a lot of learning. And I feel like, the process of learning never stops just because everything is always changing, it's upgrading, it's innovating, and we just have to keep up. So, You
Absolutely.
have to keep up with whatever you're doing because there's competition. There's definitely going to be competition.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. There's always other people out there doing what you do, and that's a good thing because it means that the people want it. It's knowing
right.
how to put yourself out there in the right way that's going to
Hmm.
get you the right clients.
Most definitely. And I love, about women, like to shift it a little bit towards like womanhood. Um, as women, I feel like we're naturally born to just help others and just give advice and be that motherly person. So you do see a lot of women become coaches. And I love it because it's like we're using our craft, we're using our natural instinct to be able to help others in the way that we want to. Everyone doesn't want to do it someone else's way. Everyone has their own way of doing something. So I think that's where it becomes so unique in the field itself.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. We have that caring instinct and want to be able to help and serve in different ways. And, how you use that is critical to what you do. But
Mhm.
stepping out and doing it with confidence and stepping out and doing it with courage are things that women struggle with sometimes. And
Mhm.
so you need to find those things within you and do it the right way. Like you said, I mean, there's so many things you have to learn, and some of those things you have to learn on your own. Like there's just
Right.
nobody that can save you from certain struggles because you're not going to
Mhm.
get past that struggle until you go through it yourself. But you
Mhm.
can save a lot of time and money by doing it and getting direction from someone who's been there.
I agree. I agree. So, what would you say were some of your biggest obstacles that you had to overcome while transitioning from the corporate world to owning your own business on your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so many. Where do I start? No. um, I think the biggest obstacle was me, to be quite honest. I think we are our own worst obstacles so many times.
Mhm.
And, one of the things that when I first started, like I used to be on phone calls at least 10 hours a day, nonstop, barely had time to do anything. And when I stopped working, I was like, whew, I need a break, right? Like I didn't realize until I actually left how much of a break I needed. And I
Mhm.
was avoiding having phone calls and getting on. And I'm like, I'm a coach. I have to get people on the phone or get them on Zoom, which I
Mhm.
do a lot of my coaching over Zoom, and to
Mhm.
get people, to get
Yeah.
clients. And so I
Mhm.
was like my own worst enemy in some ways. And the
Mhm.
time, learning how to manage your own time and learning how to manage your own deliverable
Mhm.
timelines, because if you're used to working for someone else, they're determining what your deadlines are. And
Right.
now when you have to determine them yourself and hold yourself
Mhm.
accountable to them, it's a very different thing and
Mhm.
something that we all have to learn. And so there were lots of little obstacles along the way. I think some of the bigger ones though were doing the wrong things. I should say
Mhm.
doing the right things at the wrong time. So
Yes.
there were right.
Timing is so important. Oh my goodness.
It is, yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time behind the computer trying to build funnels and build things and trying to do Facebook ads and all these things when that wasn't the right time in my business to be doing that.
Mhm.
And I could
Right.
have come out faster if I had been doing the right things.
Mhm. Most definitely, I agree. So, how would you say your definition of success changed in the form of corporate America and your entrepreneurial life?
Oh, that is a great question. So success when I was in corporate was about I managed, multi-million dollar projects and getting those done on time and getting recognition for those things and
Mhm.
being promoted. Those were
Mhm.
my terms of success in
Mhm.
corporate. And, um, and seeing my people successful as well. It was always a big part for me.
Mhm.
But in, the entrepreneur journey, it's very different. Your terms of success are what impact am I having on my clients? What impact am I having on potential clients? What impact am I having on people that I speak to? Because I do a lot of speaking, and how am I leaving them? Am I inspiring
Mhm.
them? Am I leaving them feeling like they want to go do something new and fresh? Because that's what I want to do. And
Mhm.
so my terms of success have changed dramatically because it's more about the impact I'm having and
Mhm.
how do I connect with people? How do I get them inspired to go start their own business and do their own thing or whatever it is for them, because everybody's different. And so my
Mhm.
path isn't the same path that everybody needs to take, but
Mhm.
figuring out what their path is and helping them in seeing their successes along the way determines my success.
I love it. I love asking this question because everyone's version is different. Like, if no one comes through and tells me the same thing over and over again. Everyone tells me something different, and I feel like we have to recognize that we are all unique in ourselves, and especially in our digital social media age, it's so easy to get caught up in wanting things that other people are displaying, and just to show that everyone is unique in their own self and we should embrace that is so
Yeah.
beautiful to me.
It is. I love that you said it. And, embrace who you are. It's one of the things. And, when, I saw you out there and you talk about inspired possibilities, and that's one of my main themes. I have what I call the Inspired Possibilities Retreat. And that's one of the things that we do is like help people embrace who they are within and
Mhm.
then figure out the next steps and how do you take that to be successful. And
Right.
so it's fun to like see someone who has been kind of covering up in so many ways truly
Mhm.
embrace who they are and
Right.
step out with that confidence and
Mhm.
accept it and just put themselves out there the way they need to be.
Right. I think that we as women, we have so many things that are against us. We have self-limiting beliefs as well as someone else portraying their beliefs upon us that makes us feel less of what we are, less deserving of what we are, what's afforded to us. And all of these different factors that we have to overcome. And it's just like creating a circle, creating an environment to say, you know what, you're worth it. You can do this, you can achieve this. Stop telling yourself that you don't deserve this. Stop telling yourself that you're not worthy of this. And there's so many different things that women, I feel like we need to uplift each other with that, it's not being done. So we have to create the environment within our own community, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you've created that environment for your people and that you're doing that. I mean, it shines through you and it's so, you can see your passion just coming out in what you do and how you do it. And it's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just like, I think that from a young age, we're not given the opportunity to explore. I mean, from the time where we came a long way. I could say that we've
Yes.
come a long way. I mean, there was once a point in time where we weren't able to own any type of property. Now a woman can do whatever she wants. She can own whatever she wants under her own name. So we've come a long way, but there's still so many limitations put on us that we have to still break free from them. Especially just from a young age, not knowing the different things that are out there. Like, I showcase different women on here all the time and let them showcase what they do and how they got there, the different things that they've had to go through during their journey. I mean, you've had women who have gone through different types of trauma and still overcome and been able to create success for themselves. So it's just telling a story that no matter what you go through, no matter what you experience,
Yeah,
you can still come out victorious.
absolutely. And I love the way you said it. And, you know, I think to add to that, like, it's not even coming through it. And I was having this conversation with someone yesterday that was like, I've got to overcome it. And I've
Yeah.
got to, and I'm like, you don't overcome it. You don't,
Yeah.
that would be like saying you're just going to put it all behind you. And like, this happened to you for a reason. And
Hmm.
you become better because of that.
Right.
When you move through it,
Hmm.
then you're able to see why it happened. And there's, so many circumstances that happen to people. And, I've had them as well. Like I went through, discrimination while I was pregnant. And if that had not happened, I would not be here today
Hmm.
serving and helping people
Hmm.
because that's what made me shift and
Hmm.
realize like this isn't the world I want to live in for the rest of my life. I want to
Right.
have more control. I want to have more freedom. I want to have more flexibility in my life. And we all have to go through those things. And when you're in them, they
Hmm.
can seem so painful and, just debilitating at times. Like I always say,
Right.
like you can get hit by a dart and it just kind
Mhm.
of like knocks you back, like ow, or you can get hit by an arrow and it takes you out. And sometimes you're
Mhm.
like, can't walk for a while and you just can't move
Mhm.
forward. And it's those times like you've got to just stop and say, okay, why is this happening?
Mhm.
What good can come from this?
Mhm.
How can I turn this around for myself? How
Mhm.
can I go out and use your story, like you were saying, to help other people get through it? How can you
Mhm.
take what you've done and be a light for others?
Mhm. I agree. I've seen it so many times, different women, and like you would hear their stories and you're just like, wow, like I wouldn't even be able to tell that you're someone that's gone through such, tragedies, such horrible obstacles in your life, and now you're using it as a gift to help others. And I think that's the true beauty in it, being able to heal yourself from within to be able to help others. I think that's the strength in healing, just being able to be a light and guidance to others who are going through the same things that you've gone through before.
Yeah, absolutely. Said perfectly.
Yes. So, what would you say are some of your biggest life lessons that you learned over the years, both in corporate and on your entrepreneurial journey? Some of your biggest life lessons.
Some of my biggest life lessons, one is to get out of your own way. Stop beating yourself up, stop, doubting yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and find the direction. So, a lot of times we just need to get clarity. When we
Mm-hmm.
find ourselves, stopping, not being able to move forward, not being able to make a change we want, a lot of times it's because we need clarity. And it starts
Yeah.
with clarity. Like you've got to be clear on what it is you want, why you want it, and how you get there. And so, finding that clarity, which will help build your confidence, it helps build your courage, it helps build your commitment. And so, that's the one thing, first thing I'll say is, get out of your own way and get clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Get the help that you need if you need help with that. Find
Mm-hmm.
the person who's gone through it. Find someone who has some answers for you, or someone that you can even just brainstorm with about ideas,
Mm-hmm.
because we get too much in our own heads.
Mm-hmm.
And, the other thing I would say is never limit yourself with the possibilities, and that's why I like to say the inspired possibilities, because possibilities are endless. It's our
Yeah.
mind that blocks them and says,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a possibility, that's not a possibility, that's not a possibility. And we shut things down before we even
Mm-hmm.
let them, touch a piece of paper about even
Right.
having an idea. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times that's what keeps us stuck, and that's what keeps us from being able to move forward in the right way, is because we're not allowing ourselves to think beyond, to think
Mm-hmm.
what might even be possible if
Mm-hmm.
you were to choose a different direction, if you were to look at doing something differently, if you were to choose this business that you want to do, but you keep telling yourself you can't because for whatever reason, whether it's you don't
Right.
think it's profitable, you don't think that's something people want,
Mm-hmm.
you don't think, like, we put these things in our head. But I bet if you start researching it and you start going out and looking at what other people have done, there are successful people doing those same things.
Right. I think there are so many different factors that contribute to, those self-limiting beliefs as well as being in our own way. Especially for women specifically, just imagine all the things that girls are told at a young age. First of all, the whole notion of like girls never know what they want to eat comes from probably being told, oh no, we don't want that today. So it's like, okay, y'all make up your mind so that I can have some clarity within myself and I can know what I want to eat, because, everyone always makes decisions for women, for girls. So sometimes it's hard for us to be able to make those decisions on our own because we're always looking for some sort of um, confirmation.
Yes.
You know, I think that's where a lot of that stems from. Just and then the fact that a lot of times as kids in general, girls and boys, we're not able to explore a lot. Sometimes there's a lot of notions that are just shut down.
Yeah.
We're told that there's the general successful careers where it's like doctor, teacher, lawyer, nurse,
Uh-huh.
engineer, all of those, but we're not like able to explore anything further than that really. And it's like when we go to college, we go get these degrees and we're like, I really still don't know what I want to do. So it's kind of like it stems way back from there, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many things stem from our childhood, right? And things that we've been told, and being able to move through them and
Yes.
realize that the validation comes from ourselves, the confirmation needs to come from ourselves. And having it from external is really just in support of what you've already decided.
Mhm.
And you've got to make the decision first. You've got to be able to move forward first. And you have to realize that your decision is just as important as someone else. It's more important than someone else coming to tell you what you should do. You
Mhm.
need to feel validated with what you decide, what you want to do.
Mhm.
And you're right. I mean, so many times we're just told, go do this and go do that. And, we've all had,
Mhm.
some type of controlling parents one way or another, or like someone
Mhm.
in our lives that has tried to control different areas for us. And then you feel like you don't have the ability to choose those things yourself, to be able
Mhm.
to make a decision for yourself, to be able to speak up when you feel like you need to,
Yes.
because you've been
Mhm.
told to be quiet all the time and it's not your
All the time.
yes. And now as you start growing and getting out into the world, it's sometimes hard to realize that you can now like have your own voice and that you're not having to sit back and wait for someone else to tell you what your opinion is. You can have your own
No,
opinion.
no, most definitely. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I tell people this story all the time how my younger brother in school, he was like the questions king. I mean, he would ask questions about everything. And I think that's the beauty in childhood, being curious, asking questions, wanting to know. But then you have adults just because maybe they don't know the answer, they say, stop asking all those questions, you know? So it
Yeah.
kind of shuts down a curiosity in a child, and it trails them into their adulthood. So I think there's so many different factors like that. And I think being able to step in and overcome those things for ourselves and then step down and hand it back down to the younger generation would
Mhm.
definitely help them grow into, something sooner than realize what they want to do sooner than most people were able to.
Yeah. And I think about those things all the time now because I have young kids now.
Mhm.
And you're always like, especially when you're in our world where you do coaching and consulting and
Mhm.
you've been told all these things that your childhood has messed up for you. You start thinking like, how am I going to impact my own children?
Right.
And so, my youngest, who is now 7,
Mhm.
she's a negotiator. I mean, she just is. Like she's gonna ask a million questions. She's gonna negotiate with you when you tell her no. And many times, like I've had this conversation with my husband, like we can't kill her negotiation skills because
Mhm.
that is a skill.
That's the
That is
beauty.
something inherent in
Everyone does
her.
not have
And
that.
so, I know many times, like if my parents if I would have been like, but mom, could we maybe do this or like, and they just be like, no, I told you no the
Right.
first time. I mean, that's how we all grew up. And you just listen, you don't get another choice. And so
Mhm.
now I'm always thinking like, how, like, if she comes up with this great idea, like I have to
Mhm.
go with it. Like she'll
Right.
tell her no, she can
Negotiating
buy something.
queen.
Yeah.
Negotiating queen. That's gonna be her bread and her butter in the
Oh yeah.
future. Like I
Absolutely.
used to, whenever I would want something from my parents, and I felt like I really needed to like convince them, just because I was like, okay, this is gonna need a little more extra juice on the fuel tank just to get them to get it. So I remember when the iPhone came out, I believe I was in like sixth or seventh grade, and I just had to have an iPhone. So I wrote, I mean, I think it was like a 2 to 3 page essay about why I needed this iPhone, how it would help me out as well as them. And
Oh
I
yeah.
had a whole essay for them.
Love it. Yes. Oh, she's already asking for the phone. And we're like, are you 12? Like,
Listen,
Mom,
no,
you're
the
12?
crazy thing about that, I think I don't know how old I was, probably like I probably was 12. I think I was 12. But I think I had my first phone, but back then it was like flip phones. So, it wasn't like all the social media and stuff going on. But when we
Yes.
went on they had safety patrols where you go to Washington, D.C. So that was when I got my first phone. But I was watching The Social Dilemma on Netflix, and it's crazy how they show that when social media and smartphones increased, they showed a rise and increase in teenage and tween girls and cutting themselves and having suicide. So it was just like the correlation with that shows you how detrimental it is to our society. They even have girls wanting to like tattoo filters on their face, like basically it's insane. So
Wow.
yeah, definitely wait on the cell phone.
Yeah, and that's when you have those moments as a parent that you're like, okay, am I being too controlling by telling them no, they can't have a tattoo?
Like, no. It definitely influences. Like, I
Yes.
mean, sometimes I can go in there, I'm like, okay, like you'll see like some food come on and you're like, oh wow, now I'm hungry and like you just ate. Like, come on now. Like
Yes.
it's so tempting. It's
Yep.
so tempting. They talked about how they make it so that it is addicting. Even the people
Hmm.
who are creating it are, falling victim to it. So it's like if they can't even overcome it and they're not letting their kids be on social media, then why are you letting everyone else be on there?
Yes, it is scary. I mean, it's a scary time to be a parent. I mean, to have to make some of those decisions. It's a scary time to be on social media at times. It's you don't know how you're being influenced. You don't know how you're being tracked, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of concern about it. And
Yeah,
it's like some things you just have to trust and pray you're protected, and
right.
you just gotta you know figure out a better way to do it.
No, most definitely, I agree. So, if you had to say one thing to women and girls around the world to inspire them to dream without limitations, what would it be?
I love that question. So I think what I would say to all of you is follow your heart, follow your dreams. Don't let someone else tell you what you can and can't do, but at least pursue it, research it, figure out what works best for you, because you are truly blessed. You All of us, I mean every single one of you has something within you that needs to shine. And I want to see all of you out there shining. I want to see all of you out there inspired. I want to see all of you out there doing what you love.
I love it. I love it. I totally agree. Everyone, let your light shine, be an inspiration, do what is your heart's desire. I do want to give you the opportunity before we close out to allow the audience to know if they want to reach you for services, if they want to follow your journey, how can they do that?
Yeah, the easiest way is to go to my website. It is tamijaffe.com, and my name is spelled a little differently, so I will spell it for those of you listening. It's TamiJa, F as in Frank, Fe. So tamijaffe.com, you can set up a time to chat with me there or see what resources I have coming up.
I love it. I love it. So, guys, that will be in the show notes as always. And we do thank you, Tammy, for sharing your light, sharing your energy, and just being an inspiration to women around the world. It was a pleasure, pleasure, pleasure having you on the show. Great conversation. I enjoyed it all the way.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure being here with you all.
Oh, thank you. Well, we thank everyone once again for tuning in to Made to Dream. I'm your host, Maya Chanel, and we'll see you next time.